Welcome to Millennium Daily News. This is Ifat Fatiba with top stories. Trump issues fresh attack on UN. Trump tells Israel to stay strong. US law enforcement line of duty deaths hit 5-year high in 2016. Mobilize public opinion against militancy, Prime Minister. 2 suspended Biman officials remanded over glitch in PM's flight. And Bangladesh reached semi-final crushing Afghanistan. Those were the headlines, now the detail. President-elect Donald Trump launched a fresh salvo of accusations against the United Nations, saying the world body had not lived up to its potential and failed to solve global problems. The UN had such tremendous potential, not living up to its potential, Trump told reporters at his Florida holiday resort Mar-a-Lago. The international institution set up amid the ashes of World War II includes the World Health Organization, which helped eradicate smallpox, and the Security Council, which was frozen by divisions as Syria plunged into chaos. His comments came as incoming UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said he was to meet Trump as soon as possible and is determined to establish a constructive dialogue with the new US administration. US President-elect Donald Trump asked Israel to stay strong while accusing Barack Obama of making inflammatory statements and complicating the impending transfer of power. The latest salvo in an escalating war of words with the current commander-in-chief. The unorthodox personal and public criticism of a sitting president comes less than a month before the 70-year-old Trump, who defeated Obama's preferred successor Hillary Clinton in November's presidential election, takes office. The social media jab is the latest from the 70-year-old real estate mogul aimed at Obama, in what has become a most unconventional transition between the outgoing Democrat and the incoming Republican leader. Law enforcement fatalities hit a 5-year high in 2016 with 135 officers killed in the line of duty, including 8 killed in ambush attacks in Dallas and Louisiana in July that raised nationwide concerns, a study released said. So far this year, 21 officers were killed in ambush-style attacks, the highest figure in 2 decades, according to the study from the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund, which tracks data on the incidents. This included 5 police officers gunned down in Dallas in July by a deranged U.S. Army Reserve veteran 25-year-old Micah X. Johnson, who said they aimed to avenge the shootings of black men by police nationwide. Russia has promised to respond to the expulsion of 35 of its diplomats from Washington, amid a bitter dispute over alleged Russian interference in the recent U.S. presidential election. A spokesman for President Vladimir Putin said the Kremlin's reaction would cause the U.S. significant discomfort. However, he hinted that Russia may wait until Donald Trump, who has played down the hacking claims, becomes president. Russia has denied any involvement and called the U.S. sanctions ungrounded. The U.S. Trade Department declared the 35 Russian diplomats from the Washington Embassy and the consulate in San Francisco persona non grata and gave them their families 72 hours to leave the U.S. New York City will deploy sand-filled trucks and thousands of police officers as part of a beefed-up plan to protect revelers at this year's New Year's Eve celebrations in Times Square, mindful of 2 deadly Turk attacks in Europe this year. As many as 2 million people are expected to gather to welcome the new year, and authorities said that they were aware of no credible threat to the annual festivities as the famed Manhattan Crossroads. Even so, officials have redoubled efforts to prevent attacks like those in Germany and France this year, in which suspected Islamic militants intentionally drove trucks into holiday crowds, killing dozens of civilians. President Barack Obama has unilaterally designated two new national monument nature preserves in the western U.S. states of Nevada and Utah. The Bears Ears National Monument and the Gold Butte National Monument will protect areas rich in Native American artifacts from energy drilling. Some Republicans in those states are opposed to the move and say it amounts to a federal land grab. It comes as Mr. Obama attempts to secure his environmental legacy. Since the election of Republican Donald Trump as next U.S. President, Mr. Obama has moved to block new mining claims by Yellowstone National Park and new oil drilling in the vulnerable Arctic Ocean. The leaders of wartime enemies America and Japan made a poignant joint pilgrimage to Pearl Harbor recently, issuing symbolic declarations about the power of reconciliation and warning against the drumbeat of conflict. 75 years after Japanese fighter pilots brought the fires of war to idyllic Hawaii and dragged the United States into World War II, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe offered his sincere and everlasting condolences. The pair paid homage to the more than 2,400 Americans killed on December 7, 1941, delivering a wreath of peace lilies and standing in silence before a shrine to those lost on the USS Arizona, roughly half of all those killed. Abe's visit is a high-profile mark of contrition by a leader for whom Japan's wartime past is often a sensitive domestic issue. Viewers, now Millennium Bangladesh topic news. It was a busy year at the International Crimes Tribunal 1 as the now lone tribunal pronounced judgment in 6 cases of crime against humanity, sentencing 12 war criminals to death for their monstrous crimes in 1971. The first judgment came from the 3-member tribunal on 2 February as it sentenced Netrokona Razakar duo Obaidul Haq Taher and Ataur Rahman Noni to death as 4 out of the 6 charges against them were proved beyond any doubt. On May 3, the tribunal sentenced Kishoreganj Razakar's Ghazi Abdul Mannan, 88, Nasiruddin Ahmed, 62, his brother Shamsuddin Ahmed, 60, and Hafizuddin, 66, to death for their 1971 crimes, while handing down imprisonment for life to their cohort Azharul Islam, 60. Habiganj Razakar commander Muhibur Rahman alias Boromia was sentenced to death, while his younger brother Mujibur Rahman Angurmia and cousin Abdul Razak received sentences of imprisonment till natural death on 1 June. On 18 July, the ICT-1 sentenced 3 1971 killers of Jamalpur al-Badr Bahini, Muhammad Ashraf Hossain, Muhammad Abdul Mannan and Muhammad Abdul Bari to death, and their 5 cronies, Professor Sharif Ahmed, Muhammad Harun, Muhammad Abdul Hashem, Advocate Shamsul Haq and SM Yusuf Ali to imprisonment till natural death. The first tribunal on 10 August sentenced former BNP and Jamaat lawmaker from Jashore, Maulana Sakhawat Hossain, to death and imprisonment till natural death to his 7 cohorts from committing crimes against humanity in 1971. The other 7 accused are Bilal Hossain, Muhammad Ibrahim Hossain, Sheikh Muhammad Mujibur Rahman, Muhammad Abdul Aziz Sadar, Qazi Ohidul Islam alias Wahidur Salam, Muhammad Aziz Shardar and Abdul Khalek Moral. ICT-1 left the name of another accused, Lutful Moral, out of the judgment as he died of a cardiac arrest in police custody on 6 May 2016. Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina reiterated her call to all, including teachers, students, guardians, religious teachers, and people of various professions, to mobilize public opinion and wage a social movement against terrorists and militancy. All will have to remain alert, mobilize public opinion, and wage a social movement against terrorism and militancy so that no one can choose such wrong path anymore, she said. Sheikh Hasina said this after receiving this year's primary education completion, junior school certificate, and their equivalent examinations results at her official residence, Ganobhavan. Taking a stance in favor of retaining JSC and PEC examinations, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said such examinations help students shrug off their anxiety and fear and boost their confidence. Earlier in the past, the students as well as the guardians used to get nervous during the board exams like SSC and HSC, but now students are normally appearing before such exams since confidence has boosted among themselves, she said. Sheikh Hasina said this after receiving this year's primary education completion, junior school certificate, and their equivalent examinations results at her official residence, Ganobhavan. The Bangladesh Telecommunication and Regulatory Commission has blocked over 500 porn websites. The BTRC has taken the initiative following a directive of State Minister for Posts and Telecommunications Tarana Halim. Letters have been sent to all concerned to take immediate steps in this regard, said BTRC Secretary Sarwar Alam while talking to UNB. All mobile operators, internet service providers, international internet gateway, and the website regulators concerned have been asked to block the listed pornography website through letters, he said. A Dhaka court placed two suspended officials of Biman Bangladesh Airlines on a 7-day remand each in a case filed over a glitch in VVIP flight carrying Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Metropolitan Magistrate Zakir Hossain Tipu passed the order when Inspector of CTTC M. Mahmubul Alam, also the investigation officer of the case, produced them before the court seeking a 10-day remand for each, reports UNB. Those who remanded are SM Rukunujaman, engineer, and Siddiqur Rahman, junior technician. Viewers, now Millennium Business News. Precious metals miners send the FTSE 100 index of leading shares to a fresh high powered by a rise in gold prices. In a continuation of December's Santa rally, blue chip stocks rose by 14.18 points to close at a record 7,120.26. Randgold Resources and Fresnillo led the FTSE 100 climbers for a second day, each rising by more than 4%. Stocks were lifted by gold prices, which grew 1.5% to $1,158.1 an ounce. People in India have until the end of yesterday to deposit discontinued notes in bank and post office accounts or risk their money becoming worthless. Early last month, the government scrapped the 500 and 1,000 rupee notes to crack down on undeclared money and fake cash. The move divided opinion, especially over how the ban was implemented. Deadlines for spending the notes or swapping them for a new currency have already passed. Some people, including those of Indian origin living abroad, will be able to exchange the notes in branches of India's central bank until 31st March 2017, but the process will be more complicated than going to a regular bank. Workers on 0 hours contracts typically earn £1,000 a year less than permanent employees, according to Resolution Foundation research. People on the controversial contracts face a precarious pay penalty of 6.6% or £93 an hour, the think tank has estimated. For those who earn the least, the size of the cap is even greater at 9.5%. The foundation backed the government's decisions announced last month to hold a review into modern working practices. Understanding the reasons behind this pay penalty will be crucial in order to tackle some of the challenges raised by new forms of employment without jeopardizing the success of the UK's flexible job markets, it said in a statement. Bangladesh Bank has reset the security deposit amount to make easy the drawing management with exchange houses abroad under electronic fund transfer process. From now, the approved banks can deposit 10,000 instead of 25,000 US dollar for non-resident declaration account or term deposit and Taka 2 lakh instead of Taka 5 lakh for non-resident Taka account, BB said in a circular issued recently. But the banks cannot provide any overdrawn facility in favor of money transfer institution, the circular said. Viewers, now Millennium Environment, Science and Technology News. An international team of astronomers has found a massive supercluster of galaxies that had previously gone undetected as it was hidden by stars and dust in the Milky Way. The Vela supercluster is a huge mass that influences the motion of our galaxy, said Professor Matthew Collins from Australian National University. This is one of the biggest concentrations of galaxies in the universe, possibly the biggest in the neighborhood of our galaxy, but that will need to be confirmed by further study, Collins added. The research published in the journal Monthly Notices of the Royal Astronomical Society involved astronomers based in South Africa, Australia and Europe. Young Australian scientists desperate for research funding are finding inventive ways to pay for their projects, as Paul Carter reports from Hobart. Somewhere in the vast southern ocean, what could be next year's ideal Christmas gift is traveling about attached to an albatross or seal. It's a 2-gram animal tracking device or geolocator which will be turned into a piece of jewelry by young Australian scientists in their spare time. The scientists retrieve the tracker when the animal, following a seasonal pattern, returns to its burrow or beach. Migrating birds are arriving at their breeding grounds earlier as global temperatures rise, a study has found. Birds have reached their summer breeding grounds on average about 1 day earlier per degree of increasing global temperatures, according to the research by Edinburgh University. The study looked at hundreds of species across 5 continents. It is hoped it will help scientists predict how different species may respond to future environmental change. Reaching their summer breeding grounds at the wrong time, even by a few days, may cause birds to miss out on maximum availability of vital resources such as food and nesting places. Viewers, now the Millennium Sports News. Australia bowled Pakistan out for 163 in Melbourne to win the second test by an innings and 18 runs on day 5. Michelle Starr took 436 after captain Steve Smith hit 165 as Australia declared their first innings on 624 by 8. The hosts had 68 overs to secure an unlikely victory given the amount of time lost to bad weather. But Pakistan were reduced to 91 by 5 at tea, and it took Australia 53.2 overs to wrap up a win that gives them an unassessable 2-0 lead in the series. The third test starts in Sydney on 3 January, but Pakistan captain Misbah-ul Haq has not committed to playing in the match after a poor series so far. A brilliant hat-trick by captain Sabina Khatun guided Bangladesh to the semi-final of the Seven Nations SAF Women's Championship Football with one match to spare, crushing Afghanistan by 6-0 goals in their first Group B match at Kanchenjunga Stadium in Siliguri, India. This is the third time that Bangladesh reached the semi-final of the Women's Regional Soccer Meet since its inception in 2010. Bangladesh is likely to play Nepal in the semi-final on January 2. Touring Bangladesh will play their remaining Group B match against host India, the champions of all three previous meets, 2010, 2012 and 2014, today at the same venue. Bangladesh captain Sabina Khatun struck a hat-trick, scoring 5 goals in the 6th, 15th, 40th, 44th and 48th minutes, while Shopna netted the other goal for Bangladesh in the 82nd minute. Neil Broom made a defiant 109 not out as New Zealand struggled to 251, batting first in the second one-day international against Bangladesh in Nelson. New Zealand's next highest scorer was Luke Roshi with 35 as Bangladesh produced a commanding performance in the field after winning the toss. Mashrafi had Bangladesh in charge from the start when removed Martin Guptill with the third ball of the match. He also dismissed the big-hitting Colin Munro for 3 in the middle of the innings and came back to remove Lockie Ferguson at the tail. Taskin Ahmed dismissed Kane Williamson 14 for the second successive match, and first ODI century maker Tom Latham struggled to 22 before he fell LBW to Shakib Al Hasan, leaving New Zealand 47 by 3 in the 14th over. For Bangladesh, Mashrafi took 3 for 49 while Taskin Ahmed and Shakib Al Hasan both took 2 for 45. Before ending, the headlines are once again: Trump issues fresh attack on UN. Trump tells Israel to stay strong. US law enforcement line of duty deaths hit 5-year high in 2016. Mobilize public opinion against militancy, Prime Minister. 2 suspended Biman officials remanded over glitch in PM's flight. And Bangladesh reached semi-final, crushing Afghanistan. This is all for now from Millennium Daily Newsroom. To get any kind of news, please visit to our social website facebook.com/MillenniumTVUSA and youtube.com/MillenniumTVUSA. Besides, to get the most updated news, please log into our website www.millenniumtv.net. Stay with Millennium. Allah Hafiz.